book of Lamentations is hardly a book we turn to at the beginning of the year. It's a book full of grief and pain. It recognizes and it names the suffering of humanity. But interestingly enough, the author of Lamentations, right there in chapter 3, has a message in the midst of all the grief, in the midst of all the pain, in the midst of all the lament. This author has a message that is so appropriate for those of us who may be in a season of pain and suffering as we begin a brand new year. Lamentations chapter 3 verse 21 says, "But this I call to mind, and therefore I have hope." He recognizes, I am calling something to mind. I am recalling something, and this thing that I'm recalling gives me hope. He says, "The steadfast love of God never ceases." Right? In spite of all the lament and all the grief and all the pain and all the sorrow and all the 2020 and now the beginning of 2021 that already has so many of us suffering, he says, the steadfast love of the Lord never ceases. His mercies are new every morning. Great is your faithfulness. I love this picture. I love this picture because the author of this book that is literally centered around lament and pain and grief recognizes that in spite of it all, there's one thing, there's one reality that ought to anchor us and ought to give us hope moving forward. And this is what he calls to mind. This is what he remembers in this moment of grief. He says, the steadfast love of God never ceases and his mercies never end. They're new every morning. And I just want to remind you, as you begin a brand new week and a brand new year, that you may be aware of the fact that every single time you wake up, there is fresh mercy for you. There is fresh, not expired, not stale, not old, but fresh mercy that God is ready to bestow upon your life. So no matter what 2020 was like, 2021 has 365 new versions of God's fresh mercy for you every single morning. So if you find yourself in a season of despair or lament or grief throughout this year, may you find hope in this, and may you recall this and also bring this thing to mind, that the steadfast love never ceases and his mercy is new every single morning.